My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we gon' up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we gon' up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Night Nation? It's your boy Roger hitting you back up this week. We are back. We normally are here on Monday nights. Unfortunately, and hopefully you got the memo, we had to move it to Tuesday this evening. We will be a lot more consistent during football season. So I apologize, but in order to get the guys here, we had to move the show. That being said, we've got a lot to talk about. Again, this is the doldrums of summer, so you assume we have nothing to talk about. But we do. We're going to be talking about some more recruits on campus this week, as we did last week. A new food provider at the stadium. We'll talk a little bit about Terry Mahajer and his thoughts on now that everything's been ratified with regard to Rev Share, the 5+11 for the playoffs, what ESPN thinks that we're going to do this season. We'll talk a little bit of UCF baseball. As far as who's in, who's out, etc. We'll give some listener love. We'll talk a little bit about Coach Wash and Hoops, who was recently added. We won't have Alan's oxymoronic stat of the week because he's going to go watch the NHL championship and hopefully watch Florida take home another title. Josh will give us his sometimes funny fact of the week, a quick update on other UCF sports that Alan does not watch. So without further ado, let's get right into it and bring in the man with the greatest hair on the internet, No Bruh.
Hey now.
What's up, bruh?
What's going on, man?
Man, it's a good day, a good day in Night Nation, and lots of things to talk about. So I'm ready to have a little fun with our listeners. How about you?
Same.
All right, let's get that hair flip. All right, last but not least, and I'm going to preemptively say this because Josh said last week he was the first one in, which is not true, is last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
Hello, world. Just so you know, the Florida Panthers are up 2-0, and as I told Alan, they're already going to win. Why do you need to watch the game? Come and hang with us. But unfortunately, you see who's on the screen. Yeah,
exactly. That's okay. Alan did help us out a little bit with the notes before he went down there. Hopefully, he's going to have a celebratory beverage while he's down there. And meanwhile, we get to do all the fun stuff and talk about UCF sports. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with a new verbal recruit, and then we'll get to who was on campus this week. Our new recruit at UCF's 11th commit of the class for 2026 is Alhassan Idrisu. See that, Josh? That's how you get through that. He is a 4-star. And so Alan likes to use the composite rankings, and he is a true 4-star composite, which means that includes ESPN, On3, 247, Rivals, etc. He is 6'8", 240 pounds, so good size for an edge rusher. He is the #1 recruit in the state of Connecticut. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah.
State of Connecticut. But he is the #1 recruit in the state and number 401 nationally, so top 500 recruit. He hails from St. Thomas More High School in Oakdale, Connecticut. Now, here's what should get you excited. He holds FBS offers from Cal, Colorado State, FSU, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, San Diego State, Syracuse, Temple, Texas A&M, us obviously, UConn, USC, Wake Forest, Washington State, and West Virginia U. So with an offer list like that, we made a little bit of fun there when it comes to Connecticut, but obviously this kid has some talent. He, from a size perspective, we talk about measurables and getting guys on campus with certain measurables. He certainly has the measurables to be success. He is. He also was originally a basketball player, so that kind of fits with what UCF is trying to do and finding more of those athletic folks. He obviously will command quite a bit they'll be creating quite a bit from the NIL that we're putting together. But yeah, I mean, 2026 edge, I did look at his tape. He's quick. And so I think this is where it helps when it comes to defense, is being able to be explosive, especially when you're talking about an edge rusher, to be first on the football and to be able to get around the edge quickly, because that's basically all you're doing is providing pressure, right? Depending on what the setup is. We were really in a 3-horse race here with USC, Minnesota, and us. So considering that we went out with those 3, that says a lot about him and the quality of player that he is. He seems to be really excited to be at UCF, and I'm excited to have him here too. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah. Well, to me, it also says that he might have a solid academic desire too, on top of everything else, because Minnesota and USC are no slouches when it comes to the academic side. And I know we're not here to talk about academics, but
we're not here to play school, Josh. We're not here to play school.
Well, not anymore. We used to be. But here's the fact: like, that can translate. Being academically talented is something that can translate over to study room, to film, to understanding concepts. You don't need it, right? There's a lot of people who just have great instincts of what and can be trained for these specific things, but that does translate well typically. And I really do, I know we make fun of like the number one in Connecticut, right? I love the Northeast. I grew up there, but number one in Florida football player is a better football player than the number one football player in Connecticut. Like probably 100 years out of 100. And it still seems like this gentleman has a lot of upside, has a lot of like the measurables are great. A lot of people are interested, and I'm really glad to see that he chose us between whatever we have to offer and nil as well. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm always excited when we get people onto the team who enjoy coming down to Florida. Listen, a lot of people in the Northeast love coming down to Florida. Let's be fair there, but everything that looks on paper to be what we could use, and when you're like almost eye to eye with Paul Rubel, right? That's a good thing when you come in defense. As long as you can get around.
I think for me, the biggest thing is that he's a 2-star athlete, right? And the biggest thing that I saw when I was, or 2-sport athlete. Sorry, he's a 2-sport athlete, and the biggest thing that I saw, the biggest thing that I saw on the field when I was watching his tape was his ability to get off the ball and the speed. So if you're at 6'8", 240 pounds, right? That 240 pounds is typically edge rusher material. You're going to be anywhere between probably 6'4" and 6'6". So he's got height. He's athletic. He probably needs to put a little weight on. It's going to be tougher for him. He's going to be matched up on tight ends and, just all out rushes, because it's going to be tougher for him to get a lower center of gravity. So this guy is going to be either a 3 technique or standing, more than likely standing most of the time. And it's just going to be a speed blitzer or an edge contain. So when a team is trying to get, their running back or their quarterback's trying to slip out on the weak side, this is the guy that you want to make sure that you're maintaining the edge contain. So he's a 4-star composite 4-star athlete. The offer list is amazing. And he chose UCF. I think this is a big win for us because we can always use help on D-line. You saw what some of the difference that made last year and in prior years on being able to get someone who can both edge contain, because the problem last year for us on defensive end was more about maintaining the angles and making sure that you don't overrun a play, because we saw that several times last year where defensive end was out of position because he took a bad angle when he was running in. He wasn't being moved. He just took a bad angle, or he bit on either a handoff or something that was pulled. So having a guy like this that has an extra few seconds to diagnose can it doesn't allow the handoff to come off as quick, and he can get off the ball quickly, is definitely an advantage for us. And that's the reason he's a 4-star. The tape, it's not just about, okay, how does he play in Connecticut, right? But realistically speaking, if you watch the tape with his height and his size and his ability to explosiveness off the ball, I think this is a good, and speed. Having been a 2-sport athlete myself, having played basketball and football, so did Trey. We talked about that last week. It's a distinct advantage when you've got a guy who can do that, and he's got the speed, but he can last for the entire game, as opposed to tapering off mid-third quarter going into the first part of the fourth quarter. So I'm excited about that.
In that 240 really could be his weight for basketball, right? Like he might be bringing up, and well, he's still high school, but going up and going down depending on the sport, right? Because you want to be a little more lean and fast in basketball for the endurance part of it, and in football you definitely need to bulk up. So yeah, there's a lot to like here, and we'll see how it all pans out.
Awesome. All right, so another good commitment for us, and it's actually one of the highest rated commits that we've gotten all season long as well. So Rivals only has him at a 5.6, but he is a true composite 4-star football player for this year. So moving on, let's go ahead and swiv it to and talk about the weekend and the official visit that happened this weekend. Remember last week we talked about the previous week. We had another one again this week. So recruiting is hot and heavy despite the season being off. The teams obviously aren't back for practice yet. So we've got a ton of 2026 prospects that were on campus this weekend. One of which was Al Hassan, who had not yet committed to us at that point, but committed after the visit. In addition to him, we also had Gary Hadley on campus this weekend. He, what I'd like to see here is he's 6'3", 184 pounds. He's from Cardinal Gibbons out of Fort Lauderdale. He was actually committed verbally to Tulane as of 6'9", but still decided to come to the visit. He was offered by us in March. He's got a pretty good list of official visits on his own and offers. We're talking Missouri, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, LSU, UCLA, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Wake Forest, and BC all offered him. So he, again, is listed as a 5.3 or 5.6 on Rivals. He's out of South Florida, which I love. He's got some speed on him, and he's got size. That's one thing most of the receivers that we've brought in to date didn't have that length. So being able to have somebody with that kind of size and be able to move is a good thing. And it looks like if he's got Tulane as the verbal and he came here, I think we have a good shot. Now, Tulane's got money with everything that's going on, but if he's looking at Tulane versus us and staying in Florida, unless he wants to get out of the state, which some people do, I think that's a good shot. In addition to that, a local kid who is really, really close to me. For those of you that don't know, my home base is Santa Rosa Beach, but I'm all over the place. I haven't been here in the last 3.5 weeks. Julius Miles, who's from Freeport. So Freeport is literally across the bay from where I live in Santa Rosa Beach. So it's Freeport High School. I have a high school here locally that's closer to me that actually had the '1 baseball team in the state. That is literally right around the corner, and they play Freeport all the time. So I've actually seen this kid play. He's a 6'6", 222-pound tight end, class of 26, rated as 5.7. He's the number 86 player in the state, so top 100 recruit, and number 28 at his position. So in addition to that, he also took OVs to Colorado, Vandy, and Syracuse. Florida State and Louisville are also trying to get him in on a visit. As a junior, he caught 56 passes for 895 yards and 10 touchdowns. So almost 1,000 yards for a high school tight end is pretty solid. He's also another basketball player. So again, one of the things that Frost was looking for in his last go around here was he was looking for two sport athletes that can run. And so he led Class 3A in shooting with 26.2 points per game. So this kid's athletic. He's another athletic kid. He can move. He's got good control of his body. And I've seen him play here, and he would be a solid pickup if we can pick him up. Next on the list would be Ben Gula. He's a 6'5", 270-pound inside offensive lineman. He's from Cypress Bay in Weston, Florida. Again, another South Florida-ish kid. He was an early target for the staff. So he's been on campus multiple times. He was also here for spring practice. He took his OV to Colorado last weekend. He had a lot of great things to say, and the fact that he's been on staff multiple times always helps. He's got offers from Texas A&M, Syracuse, Maryland, Indiana, and Wake Forest. So A&M and Indiana are kind of hot right now. Maryland has been recruiting at a higher level lately with everything that's been going on with NIL, but pretty good size. He can actually grow into that frame at 270 pounds. He can put on a lot more weight with that 6'5" frame. He's rated as a 5.6 on Rivals, but he's higher. He should be higher than that. Next, we've got another offensive lineman, Amon Williams. He locked in an official visit a long time ago. He's out of Tabor Academy in Marion, MA. I think that's Massachusetts. Massachusetts. I don't know why I was even thinking of that. He got his offer in February and booked his OV. He's got offers from Boston College, UMass, UConn, Buffalo, and Old Dominion. Again, this kid is a little less polished. He's got a little bit more size, 6'5", 280 pounds already. So again, another good frame. And if you notice, we're going with taller linemen. In the past, we've been getting guys that are 6'3", 6'4" on the offensive line, but 300 pounds. So it's interesting to see that that Scott Frost is going after the leaner linemen again. The only thing that worries me about that is that it's going to take a year or so in the weight room for them to be able to really own what they want them to do. But it also harkens back to, again, we're looking at multi-sport athletes that are leaner, that can move, and that have some wind. So excited to see what happens with him. Next, we have, I don't know if they misspelled this or not, but it's Whitley Cadeau, but it's spelled Wihtley. He's actually a verbal commit to FSU, and he committed verbally on the 8th, but he still came in for a visit, and Tallahassee was his last weekend. He also visited Purdue. He's got offers from Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Cincinnati, Vandy, which are some pretty big names. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia. Booker T. Washington's a pretty famous school there in Atlanta. I wish Trey was on with us this week. He could talk about that a little bit more. Class of 2026. He's a defensive end. So remember, we were talking about ends earlier. He's 6'5", 280. The previous end we were talking about was 6'8", 240. So a little bit different, a little bit stronger, but still a solid recruit. And then last but not least, we have Amarian Queen. He's from Stuart, Florida, Martin County, so South Florida guy. 6'2", 185-pound safety. That is the perfect size for a safety. He was prior commitment to the Cows, so you have to question decision making. But he reopened the commitment. Brandon Harris actually was the one who offered him in late May. He went to Purdue for his first official. His other offers include Michigan State and Pittsburgh. Again, Pitt is someone we're going to consistently battle. They've kind of stepped up their game lately. He has 22 tackles, 5 breakups, and 3 interceptions as a junior. And he had a lot of good things to say after his official visit. Brandon Hellwig put an article out about him. So I encourage you to check that out. That's on the Rivals webpage. And basically, he said it felt like home. And considering the other schools, everybody's saying, he said it in his interviews, but everybody's really been saying that they love the staff. So as much as, you know, the staff was lauded in recruiting last year, I think that they're connecting with them in a different kind of way. And, you know, again, we're still doing the family type of theme, just in a different way. So that wraps up who we had on campus for this weekend. There'll be some more, but there's some pretty solid recruits. And again, we got a commitment from one of them, right? Al Hassan Adrisu. And so 4-star kid, 6'8", 240 pounds. So that's good. And I believe he's our highest recruit and commitment for the 2026 class. So super excited about that. Anything to add to that, Josh? I've been talking for like 10 minutes. It feels
Yeah,
like.
I know. And then that is okay. I don't know. Did we talk about Amon Williams last week too? I think that might be kind of new. I literally was.
I don't think we did. Why don't you take us for a spin?
Yeah. No, that wasn't I knew everything about it. I just the reason I was asking about it is I was talking about I was looking about the program. If you're a UCF fan, you know what quote unquote the program is, and if you don't, that's okay. Maybe you're a newer fan. That's all right. The program was something that Frost brought in for the first couple of years. I wish Trey was on to talk about that. I know he has in the past, but the program is this really cool, kind of like military style leadership type boot camp. Yeah. And it's really something phenomenal. I wish I could explain it better. You need to see some of the there's like people do log rolls. I saw someone on Instagram, like a video, like carrying like one of the players carrying another players and like a fireman like carry and doing it slowly, obviously, because the dude probably was 250 plus. And
oh, come on. That's what you do leg day for. Come on.
Listen, there's a difference between benching, lifting, and like carrying someone to that level. So anyway, that is, I think that's part of the quote, this is why we brought him back, unquote. The unity and the family-like feel is something that I think is becoming separated from college football because of money. And
I mean, because of the transfer portal, let's be real.
That's fair. Well, transfer portal, not winning out a year, NIL, and as I like to say now, but still, right? These are all these things, and my thought is that why not both, right? We have funding, maybe not as much as others, but we have funding, right? We're in a great state. We're in a warm climate. And bringing back these type of things where the coaches actually care about you, and that's not a detriment to other coaching staffs. So just saying, we know what Scott Frost wants in a program. I think that is why statements like you just said about these recruits, they're seeing it and living it. And I can talk about Amon Williams in this hot minute if you need.
Yeah, let me just address that what you just said and talk a little bit more about the program. So for those of you that don't know, what the program basically is it's a team building military style boot camp that Scott Frost used to do when he was here, right? And, you know, it's not easy. Basically, they've got you up at 4 a.m. and you're doing not quite as rigorous, obviously, as like what a Navy SEAL would do or something like that, but it's a boot camp style. Usually it's run by former operators. And what they do is they put you through physical challenges that are just like in boot camp. They put you through physical challenges that you have to get through together or pick each other up to get through together to do that team building type of stuff, right? So it's physically challenging, it's mentally challenging, right? And it's designed to show that you guys can get through things together as a team, even when it's hard. So when it's in the fourth quarter and you're staring down a deficit of a touchdown and you got to get that last drive to win, or you got to get that stop to win, it's all about building those relationships with each other and building that confidence that you can lean on each other to get through anything. And that's basically what it is. It's a series of physical challenges. It's typically a week. Some of them are a weekend, some of them are a week, where you're going through those things together. You get up early in the morning, you don't stop until the end of the night, and it's physically exhausting. And you have to lean on your other teammates to be able to make it. And that's what it's all about. So, it's actually becoming more commonplace in business circles as well for team building events. But for football teams, it's great because it combines that physical exertion along with the mental exertion and pushing yourself, and then along with those team building aspects of it. So I kind of wanted to, kind of round out that thought for you, Josh, on what the program was and why we're doing it. So, but yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Amon.
So this is a case and point situation. So he's a 6'5", 280-pound offensive lineman from Massachusetts. He committed, I think it was 2 days ago on the 15th, shortly after a visit. His other offers are slightly less than previously the previous commit, right? He's from Massachusetts, right? He's Boston College, Sacramento State, who has a lot of money and is doing some other stuff too.
Hold on, Sacramento State is in the Northeast?
No. I was going to say UMass and Boston College. So,
okay. Well, but Sacramento State, aren't they the guys that brought in Shaq as AD?
Correct. Yeah, they're the ones that, and I think Mike Bibby or someone else is. Yeah, they are trying to make it in the FBS. I think they want to be the 12th team of the Pac-12 or something like that, or 10th team, whatever they need to be a full conference. So yeah,
they have to be the 8 teams to be a full conference.
Yeah, they don't even have 8 teams. Jeez. Oh man. Is Oregon State still in the College World Series? I've barely taken a look at that.
No, I think they're out. I think they're out. I think LSU just won it.
Men's College World Series already done. I know Arizona got knocked out quick, but you know what? I'm glad that they were there. Former Pac-12 team. So anyway, he did not have a lot of offers back to Mr. Williams. He visited recently, and from what I'm reading, ultimately chose UCF due to the coaching staff's interest in developing as a player and a strong sense of family during his visit. He's only played football for 2 seasons and, like you said earlier, transitioned from basketball to improve his fitness. So another 2-sport athlete who might be a diamond in the rough, that has the measurables, who wants to come here, probably his best offer, but also enjoys that strong sense of family. So again, everything we've been saying.
Yeah, the big thing is just, this harkens back to what the first Frost era was like, right? So a lot of very tall, athletic kids, again, on the offensive side of the ball, they're wanting to move the offensive line to the second level. So they're not trying to stay within the trenches. They're using motion and spread and speed to be able to create mismatches and move that line to the second level. Defensively, it's the same thing, but for a different reason, right? So defensively, you want athletic kids who can last with speed, because he's going to try to wear out. Again, I don't want to say that we're going to expect exactly what we had the first time around. Scott said the same thing, but I do think speed and wearing the other team out and being able to stretch the field on both sides of the ball is going to be something that they're going to try to take advantage of. And that's why you're seeing it. Now with this kid, Amon, he's definitely a project, right? Whereas some of the other folks that we were talking about are more established 4-star kids and it's a good mix. But what I'm seeing a lot of is he's doing a lot of the talent evaluation based off of athleticism, right? Versus, okay, this is a polished product, so we're going to go for this 4-star. And then from the family's aspect of it, they're also more likely to buy in to that team dynamic and stick around for a few years and hopefully get some playing time versus the revolving door of 4-stars that we had under the Gus Malzahn era. So I think it's all a good thing. We'll see how it plays out. I still think a lot of these kids, especially these kids that we're taking now that are 3 stars with the measurables, but not the weight, or not enough time playing, etc. They're going to take a year or two for them to start seeing the field, and we'll fill the rest with the transfers. But we turned a lot of the roster over, and these are take a chance on these kids kind of kids, right? So we'll see how it turns out. All right, so we've got more UCF football news to talk about, not just recruiting, but let's talk a little bit. I'm going to change the topic here first to food for all of you that
complain,
experience the stadium experience, right? And have to deal with food vendors that are out of commission because the health inspector has shut you down. We have a new food and service provider that is Levy is the company. They partner already with 300 venues in North America. They are a big time provider in this space for the event space and know what they're doing. They've been around since the late 70s. Some of the folks that they service is the Kentucky Derby, Coachella, the Grammys, the Magic. They provide all of it. They also run the Mercedes-Benz Lounge in the arena, Camping World Stadium. They have 2 Disney Spring restaurants. So if you've ever eaten at Paddlefish or Terraline Crafted Italian, both of those are restaurants under their banner. So they know what they're doing. And so the expectation is the level of service, not running out of food halfway through the game, not having consistent vendors out there that are that level of service and that expectation of what you get, whether you're in the tower or whether you're in the vendors in the cabana or whether in your normal seats. There's going to be a lot better options, and the quality is going to be a lot better. It's a 10-year contract. As a reminder, UCF does get a percentage of those sales as well as so it's actually a little bit more money. It's a 10-year contract, and the quality should be a whole heck of a lot better. This is not the budget item, and it actually lines up really well because the new tower being built, if you guys have been on campus later, they added on to those cement pilings that we've been talking about. They're getting higher and higher. I drove by there this weekend, and they're even higher. They're now at the level of the old tower. And they're going to be creating extra spaces. So when Josh and I were talking about, okay, we want to get to a point where we can get some of those suites where we can, and that club area where we can, go hang out, do business meetings and stuff like that. They're going to be servicing those as well. So they've got the baseball stadium, they've got the football experience. They're going to be doing the arena experience. So they've got all of the campus food, and it should be a whole heck of a lot better. Josh, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, so yeah, hopefully we have no more inspection issues. And I'll tell you this. If you have not had the ability to get to a club, one of the suites in the Magic, while the Magic are playing, hopefully you do, right? It is a nice experience. If business goes well, we'll
come on, Josh. Come on, Josh. Why are you humble bragging right now?
Listen, I am a C-suite technologist at its core, and vendors love doing those things. The food is good. The food is always good. And I've been to a lot of you've been to some of the places where they serve as well. I'm not saying the food in the stadium was just okay. Let's just say I'm more apt to possibly buy something now that I'm hearing this than just waiting it out and going to Publix and getting a sub after the game.
Or waiting and going to the Waffle House and going and see KJ after the game, right?
Well, that's been a thing. I know we've talked about Kevin, who I go to sporting events with, who's a friend of mine, and Kevin just that's our thing, going to Waffle House now. So yeah, but I'd rather go to Waffle House at times than eat in the stadium in the past, if that tells you anything. So yeah. I'm excited for this, and I think most of the fan base, it's the middle of the summer. There's not too much to be excited about.
That's not true. We just talked about recruiting. Now we're going to talk about everything that's going to happen that Terry Mohajir has been talking to us about for the last week, and then we're going to talk about ESPN predicting that we're going to have 7.5 wins this season. There's lots of fun stuff to talk about.
If this is October and we're
look how excited Nobra is right now.
If it is October and we're like 4 or 5-0 for some amazing reason, this is a blip on the radar.
Hold on. No. Whoa. Pause. Time out. Throw your flag at yourself.
Which one?
Whichever one you want. There you go. Throw the red flag. All right. So listen. I've talked about this for probably 2 or 3 shows ago, etc. I still think that there's a good chance for us to go 4-0, and there's a reason for that. Our first 3 games, 2 of them should be tune-up games. Should be, You know how UCF does tune-ups, but still should be tune-ups games, right?
Yeah.
And then we get into North Carolina, and North Carolina with Bill Belichick.
Who knows?
Which, surprisingly enough, he and his girlfriend, future wife, whatever, his person, seems to have stayed out of the news for the past 4 to 6 weeks or so. But before that, it's been a complete mess. Bill Belichick was talking about leaving again. You've got everything going on with the off-the-field issues with that. Plus, a lot of people transferred out of North Carolina, even more recently with everything that was going on. So, Bill Belichick is who he is. Doing it at the college level is completely different. He's a first-time coach there, and he's had all of this distraction off season. I think we have a good shot at winning the North Carolina game. And then the next game, again, we have a good shot at that. So, there's a very real possibility at 4-0. I expect us to be 3-0 going into that game. That's what my expectation is. And apparently ESPN feels the same. Go ahead, Josh. What were we going to say?
Listen, I until the 4th game, I completely feel it, right? I could completely feel it. I get it. I understand it. Yeah. Us going into Manhattan, Kansas, with a Kansas State team that is solid or has been solid for a while.
I said could.
If you use the capital, all caps could, yeah, we could. I'm not saying I would say the ESPN percentage indicator around that time is going to be like 70% Kansas State.
It probably is. And it's hard to win in Manhattan, Kansas, especially with the coaching staff they have. But they do have volatility at their quarterback position, right? Avery Johnson, I think, is moving on. I'm not sure about that. Yeah. They have some volatility there. They had a bunch of turnover because they were senior Latin last year. So there's an opportunity. Plus, we're not playing their style of football, which the last few years we've been playing their style of football, which is smash mouth running football. So if we can score quickly and more efficiently, and again, we moved the ball a lot more than we scored the past 2 or 3 years, if we can increase the efficiencies on that, we've played close games. Last year, they weren't anything special. They almost got beat by Tulane, and it's early in the season. So there's an opportunity there. Do they have an advantage? 100%. I mean, they're at home. Kansas State is always hard to win at. They've got a good coaching staff. They breed good offensive linemen up there. And by that, I mean, not just like babies, but they have they have a really good walk-on program, and they have a great offensive line staff there. So they have a lot of opportunities to win. Should they win? Probably. Do we have a chance? I think we might have a better chance than people give us credit for.
I will see that. I agree, and we will know by the UNC game. I wish we had enough of a clippings like episode 90. Let's take this clip and say, Josh, you are way off. I think we'll know by UNC what we have, and for this year, because we have 2 warm-up games, blowout warm-up games. Okay. We're fighting tooth and nail. Okay, if this is like Austin P in the middle of that season, right? That like, how did they score 30 some odd points on us? Okay.
Well, you can't say that either, because look how that season ended up.
But that I understand. That was a weird game. Listen, I agree, but that was a weird game. I will say this: UNC should have the ability to beat us at home, regardless of who is the captain, because they have more money. They can buy and have a bigger budget. They have some momentum when it comes to those things. I do feel like how we play in that game, I think, would determine what Kansas State looks like. If we're going to come on here and dissect that game, I'm sure. And then after that, we'll see. So I can absolutely see that we have a shot. I don't think Avery Johnson is going anywhere, but that man has been getting some NIL deals for real, like Corvettes and things like that too. So what it was meant for. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm still excited about all of that. I'm excited about the food. I don't know how we got here, but I am excited about the food. And talking about eating, Louisville ate and kicked Oregon State out of the College World Series. So they're gone. Sorry, Pac-12.
All right. So let's go ahead and swiv it yet again.
Swiv it. You like that?
So I was going to talk about Terry Mohajir first, but we'll talk about that next. Because ESPN, we talked about Phil Steele last week, right? And what Phil Steele thought. ESPN came out with their predictions, and they have us at 7.5 wins, which is even more than what my range was. Basically, they had no way to back it up. I read the article, and they just had a quick blurb, and they were like, there's turnover everywhere. It's Scott Frost is back. We have no idea what to get out of this team. Let's land on 7.5 wins. So, realistically speaking, when we're talking about this team and 7.5 wins, if we get to 3 wins early on in the season, which I think we will, we're talking about 3.5 wins for the rest of the season. I think this team can do it. We play some of the other teams that are not expected to be so well. Plus, it's the Big 12, and who knows what the heck is going to happen any given season. I do think that we have better talent than we did when we walked into a situation like this before. Not necessarily overall over last year, but we do have some pieces. We talked about the quarterback room last week, and I do think we have a better quarterback room than we think we do. I think we have a great running back room. I think we've got continuity there with Miles Montgomery and some of the backups, and some of the names that you've forgotten about since they were recruited that are still on. That were 4-star running backs, that were extremely good running backs in Central Florida at the high school level. We've got some good talent on defense, and we've got some wide receivers that seem to be showing out. So the defensive line is going to be solid as well. The big question is going to be the offensive line, because we've had significant turnover there. We don't know what we're going to have there. And I think that's the big thing that we're going to question. Linebackers, we've got some pieces, but we don't have a lot of depth. So for me, I think DBs are solid, wide receivers are solid. I think we're going to be okay in the QB room because of Mackenzie Milton and everything I said last week. If you didn't watch the show, watch the show on what I said there and why I think that. But I think this is going to be a better team than we think. And I think that this coaching staff has the ability to whip them into shape more quickly. And I'm not just talking about the Scott Frost effect, but everybody that he has around him. People forget that our DC was a head coach and was a very, very big name in college football for a long time. So people forget that we have, we're bringing Sean Becton back at wide receiver, who put out, we were wide receiver U and DBU for a while, right? And wide receiver U for a reason, because Sean Becton put a lot of players into the NFL out of UCF. So I think this is going to be a better roster. And quite frankly, the whole family thing and discipline thing and all the things that you were talking about earlier, I think that's going to be a much a better contributor because, again, we had a crap season last season, right?
Yeah.
But you saw a lot of players that gave up. You saw the team had given up. You didn't have togetherness. You saw Coach Malzahn on the sidelines getting frustrated. That's what you saw last season. So I think this is going to be, I think, like I said, my high range, and I'm going to stick with this for now, is a bowl season, right? Where we make a bowl game. Depending on how good we are at that point and who the opponent is, we might win that bowl game. So that 7 wins is there. I'm going to go the under as it stands right now until we have some more clarity in the roster. But 7.5 wins is not that far off because this team should have and could have won 4 at least more games last season. And a lot of that roster, although we had 60 turnover, we still have a lot of talent on this roster from last season, as well as who we brought in.
Yeah, I agree. I will say the way. Let me tell you why I agree. I agree because there is so much uncertainty that I feel like anything can be it. It could be 4-8 to 8-4, right? And there seems to be like 4 solid wins. Like we shouldn't. That is like the basement. And there's some who knows how other people do in the year. This is the third time I've almost knocked over my drink, so I have to move that. This is the third. This is how other people are doing. Kansas State, great case in point. Avery Johnson gets hurt somehow in the first 2 or 3 games. Does their season blow apart, right? Is Cincinnati for fake as they normally are, but they still beat us? What?
I don't have a lot of confidence in Cincinnati's coaching staff. Scott Satterfield is not done well. He didn't do well at Louisville. He didn't do well last year. I don't expect Cincinnati to be much. And then you saw what happened to Utah, right? Cam Rising last year, he got put out. He rolled out, for the first game in his hover round. And then, he was out by, I think it was game 3, he was out. And the team, although solid, just fell apart without that extra piece.
And if we would have cared a bit, and had any internal pride, we should have probably won that game. But people
should have. Putting it mildly.
The fans were checked out. The fans.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. How many people were there?
There was still probably 30,000 in the stands.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
All right.
So it could have been better, but that's a whole nother conversation. So what I will say is this: there's so much potential for anything to happen that at this point I'm as steel as everyone else. Who knows? Right? Who knows? And I think at this point, I am optimistic that we can get to 7 wins somehow. 7-6, 7-5, however it works. I'm optimistic it can get there. We'll see by game 4. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Let's go ahead and swiv it yet again and get back to Terry Mohajir that we were mentioning earlier. And I want to start. We've been talking about this for a while. Is this Rev Share thing? There was this whole will they, won't they? We talked about the Title IX implications. We talked about all that, right? Title IX still out there. However, Terry Mohajir did come out and give us a little bit of details as far as UCF's plan with regard to strategic competitiveness is what we're calling it, right? So I'm going to give you some highlights, and then we can talk about it a little bit. So UCF is launching a new strategic competitiveness department within the athletic department. So what it does is it manages the revenue sharing, the name, image, and likeness integration, because again, they've got several different governing bodies now that are coming into play that for basically there's one organization that'll be managing NIL and anything that's a transaction over $600, and then there'll be another one that's managing the Rev Share. We have new scholarships that are being announced. So part of the Rev Share and the way that we're using it is we're increasing our scholarship count. We're going to have recruiting. They're going to cover recruiting as well, and they're going to manage roster strategy. So remember that GM type position that we were talking about, that's going to be part of this as well. The new model is set to begin July 1st, 2025. UCF intends, according to Terry Mohajer, to fully fund our Rev Share obligation of $20.5 million. Just as a reminder, the Rev Share side can be funded by the university as well, but there's certain rules, and depending on there are certain scholarships that you can use for non-revenue run non-revenue sports that counts towards that $20.5 million. So people and schools can't give them those scholarships and say, hey, this is a different pool of money. It doesn't count, right? Of that, $3 million right now is earmarked for 74 new scholarships. 74. Everything will be administered and managed, including our NIL efforts will also be in-house, which means the third-party collectives are going away. Now, they'll still have them in name, right? And there'll be a separate revenue source for the NIL side of things, but they'll still be in-house, whereas before that was not the case. 44 scholarships, or 60% of those scholarships, will be designated for women's sports. So that's how they're getting around the Title IX issues, instead of saying, hey, we're paying you cash, or, having this whole idea of how much are we going to pay the Olympic sports and the women's sports. They're just creating new scholarships, which is interesting to see, but it'll be good for programs like our softball program. It'll be good for programs like our women's volleyball program, where a lot of those scholarships aren't fully funded. They're academic scholarships that we have the ladies on. The rest of the 30 scholarships will be distributed to men's sports. So, think baseball. Baseball will get more scholarships because in the past we were limited by the scholarship count. That scholarship count has gone away. The number of people that you can have is increased, but the scholarship total will still remain in place. But most of those will go to the baseball program and soccer program, think tennis program, etc., is where those 30 will go. So it's not like we're creating any new sports with this. We are already at the NCAA minimum for FBS at 16 sports, but we are increasing the number of scholarships that are available for a lot of these players. The Kingdom is going to be around until June 30th. And that'll remain the NIL fundraising and athlete support. And then that will change to the Charge On Fund, which you guys have seen before. If you want to, I'm just going to break down how this is going to be distributed basically at a high level. So $20.5 million annual cap. $3 million of that will go to the scholarship budget. So that'll come out of that. So it'll be $17.5 million that are going to be available to pay players. 74 new scholarships, 44 or 60% of those to women's sports, 30% to men's sports. And not much is going to change. Now, the Kingdom will exist after this rolls over. NIL will continue to exist. So if you're out there and you're wondering about that, that will. But that's where it is. Now, as far as Terry Mohajer also did an interview last week where he talked to Mark Daniels and the Beat of Sports on 96.9 The Game. And so they talked a little bit about where does this leave UCF in the grand spectrum of things, right? So Texas Tech is going to spend is spending $55 million, right, on NIL in addition to everything else. So As far as where we are versus where we're going and where we are versus where we stack up within the Big 12 and other conferences, right? So the good thing is, we're going to be able to spend the full $20.5 million cap. Second good thing is guess what? We've already been operating with a lot less money. So 2025, and I want to clear up some misconceptions about this. 2025 is the first year. So after July 1, we're in the new academic year, which means we're going to be paid out based on a full share member of the Big 12 for the first time. The second part of that is, yes, the conferences do pay out money at year end. So we'll get, as of June 30th, we'll get our money for this past year, but they break that up quarterly. It's a common misconception that is paid out on an annual basis. It is not. It's on a quarterly basis. So we'll start getting that money quarterly. So what does that mean? That means UCF does not have to go cut money, right, or reallocate money to get to that $20.5 million cap. A lot of other teams are going to have to cut, or they're going to have to find additional rev share in addition to their NIL efforts, which means the total pool of money that's available for that NIL and for what they can pay players is going to be a whole heck of a lot less than what they had available before. So that kind of, in a way, evens out the playing field. Are we going to be able to pay like Texas? No, we're not. And that's okay, right? But it still allows us to be more competitive with those middle of the pack teams, and gives us an opportunity to leverage some of the other things that you were talking about, Josh, and what our advantages are to be competitive and hopefully compete for national championships, not just in football, but other sports as well. Some of that rev share, there'll be a distribution based on team, right? So there's a few breakdowns of that. Basketball, it'll go football, basketball, baseball will get mostly scholarships, but it will get some money from the rev share, etc. So would I love to see more rev share go to some of those other sports? Sure, but they're not going to, and that's the smart money. What is it going to do for teams like Memphis or teams like in the G5/G6 or whatever, they're G6 now? What that means is that you're going to see more and more teams make decisions, right? They're going to be competitive. The non-football teams are going to have to make decisions. And for UCF, that means we're, for once in our existence, on the right side of history when it comes to this, because we're going to be able to afford this and stay competitive. It's going to make it so we don't have a separate league, but we pretty much have a separate conference or division when it comes to P5. It creates further separation from everybody else, but we're part of the club now and we get to participate. So I hope that we don't just use it as a participation trophy. Do you want to add anything else to that?
The fact is that right side of history is so spot on, because if we were in the MAC,
or the Sun Belt or the Conference USA, well, let's talk about the conferences we were in, right? So in FBS,
all 4,000 of them.
Sun Belt, MAC. Well, although the Sun Belt right now is now even better, and is probably going to be fighting the AAC right now for best conference, right? But so Sun Belt, MAC, AAC, right? Conference USA, AAC. If we were in any of those conferences, we'd be screwed.
I think if we didn't get the call up, we'd probably be part of the best of the rest, but that's not really a good place to be, especially now. So,
okay, let me pause you on that, because you made a big point there.
Yeah.
And I'll say that about this. We had the top, when we were in the AAC, we had the top budget in the entire conference. We had the top budget amongst the G5. And the G5 will, and this will go into the next topic we're going to talk about, which is playoffs. The G5 will have a guaranteed spot in the playoffs, which we did not have before.
Well, that's fair. And I think because there's been some call-ups, it's going to take a team that is creative and special to be able to really make some moves, even if we get to a 16 team playoff. Because the reality is, like you need Boise State in the early on, like you need that type of, Statue of Liberty plays. They didn't really necessarily need that. It was just
Boise State is not on the same level competitively as they were back then. And that's just simply because the rules.
Fair. In football, yes, fair. And that's what I'm saying. I think there could be a Cinderella story in college football in a playoff, maybe, but I feel like it's going to be the 15 seed that beat the 2 seed, because the next one up is probably going to get them. There's just I don't see that being quote fair. That's a whole nother story. So I feel
none
like
of it is fair. It wasn't fair when we were there. I mean, college football. Let's be real. College football is not fair, right?
No,
and we were screaming, myself included, when I was on the everything else. We were screaming about that being unfair when we had those solid teams, because we were a solid football program, right? But I feel like from a competitiveness standpoint, it was more fair. You could compete more equitably during that time than what you can now.
100%.
These teams unfortunately can't. It's just built into the program.
Yeah, it's designed to fail, if you will. Like that I wouldn't say fail, but it's designed for a certain few, and
we're part of the few.
Yeah, we are part of the few at this point, and that's why I said that we that part of this, I believe that it is relatively fair for those bringing in these level of revenues to some conferences at almost $100 million a year per school, that the people who are generating that income on behalf of their schools deserve more than they got in the past, and that's why there's some tenure.
Are you talking about the schools and the conferences, or are you talking about the
players that are? The players deserve that. I feel like this is writing something that needed to be righted a long time ago. It also creates issues.
I disagree as a former player, but that's just me.
That people that at some point when you're generating that much revenue, you can't just keep paying coaches $10 and $12 million. The coaches are good, but let's be real. This was all happening behind the scenes. Has been for a very, very long time.
I get that, but let me give you like I'm gonna be the old man yells at cloud right now since Trey's not here. And here's the thing, Trey would yell with me, right? So yes, I agree. Like they're bringing a bunch of revenue. As a business person, 100% agree with that, right? What I don't agree with is college sports also have been devalued. The opportunity that you get to have a scholarship, number one. The opportunity that you get to have the best athletic, or at least the best that you can, the work that you do in high school gives you the opportunities in college. And just like in the work environment, if you take advantage of the strength and conditioning programs and everything that's there to get, and the coaching, which that costs money, people pay business coaches, people pay me. Right? People pay me to help them with their businesses, right? There's a reason for that, right? Because you're providing value for that. And that's literally, if you break those coaches' salaries down, let's look at it differently and divide that by 85 scholarship players that you have there. And you're talking about the best coaches at that level, right? There's a reason they're compensated for that. And that has value. And I think that's that whole piece of it. The facilities that they're provided, the food that they're provided, which we didn't have when I played, right? We didn't have like training tables and all that crap. The NCAA didn't allow that until like 6 years ago, right? But you have the ability to train. You get a scholarship, which is still, and Terry Mohajir made this point, right? Actually, and I'll give him credit for it. This is the best program that's available that puts the most opens up the most college education to the disadvantage of any other program that exists in college. Now there's academic scholarships, right? But those academic scholarships are for the elite when it comes to academics, right? And so the competitiveness is higher there because they want to turn that into revenue for the campus and a bunch of different ways. But student athletes do get that. Now, this is not to say that I'm necessarily unhappy about them getting paid, right? What I'm saying is I think the rest of all of that that's been put out there, which when you're on your own in the business world, guess what? You have to pay for it. Part of that is devalued when it comes to that, and people aren't looking at that at all.
I 1,000% agree with you. It's the same way that when you look at your salary versus total compensation as an employee, some people don't value the $50,000 or $70,000 of insurance and all these other benefits that you get as an employee. They just see the paycheck.
Well, not only that, but the taxes that go in there and everything else.
And that was another podcast. But yeah, when you start paying employees, and you're like, oh, it's more money that came then came out of the paycheck. What is this? So we'll get past that. You are 100% right. The value of what was being provided is not taken into account all the time.
The marketing, the branding, everything that goes into the 100%. NFL and getting you an opportunity to be drafted and cash out that way.
And I will say that there are definitely some players that were worth significantly more than that. Mackenzie, Melton, us, 100%. Tim Tebow at UF. I don't like talking about them, but let's be real. The amount of marketing and funding he brought into that university is staggering. There has to be some type of monetary number out there of what he did for that team and did not get paid officially. And maybe he didn't do unofficially. I don't know. But there are just these names and people that here's a great example. They probably didn't get paid as good as Dylan Gabriel did for job hopping for 4 years. And there is value to not only what's coming out of the universities and the athletic programs and the football teams and et cetera. There is. And there are certainly some people that deserve more. It's a really interesting time. I'm glad that I having a mix of the two, having a little bit of that still family collegiate football atmosphere, and compensating people who really do deserve it. I feel like it's going to be not what it was. And I hope over time we see that mix work well, and there needs to be some regulation. Like there is less regulation on what the heck is going on right now than there is in the NFL. And just imagine if NFL players could do any of this.
And we've debated that to death. Right? Yeah. All right. So let's going back to the Terry Mohajir thing. The next thing is the playoffs, right? So we talked about and debated the models and what we thought was best. I still think the 2-2 whatever model is still advantageous for UCF. However, Terry Mohajir is pushing the 5+11 for the playoffs. Now, remember, he was a former playoff committee member. Right. And his thought is, and it's not necessarily the conferences, right? It's 5+11. So you get one auto bid and everybody else is up for grabs. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that the 5+11 model is what's best for the power conferences. And if you're thinking of all of college football, maybe, but we've been the poster child for that, right? Having been kept down artificially on where the rankings should be. How do you have the number one team in the Coley metrics, no matter whether you believe in or matrix, whether you believe in the national championship or not, how do you have that team be ranked number 13 or 14? You have that so that it keeps you out of the playoffs. So that will continue to happen. So for me, for UCF, I actually think the 2-2-2 whatever would be better, because I don't believe that they're going to keep the playoff committee involved. So in that number, so I'm not sure if that's any better for us or not. What it does do is it gives us some flexibility within the contract to be able to prove that we should get a bigger share, or pushes us out until 2030 when the ACC may have some changes in its membership, and then we might be better. So I think from that perspective, I think that's a good middle ground. But ultimately, I'm not sure that helps.
Yeah, I agree. Being selfish, we're in the club, so yeah, we want to support the club. I really don't have a solution. I feel like anything that comes out is going to be, quote, in the
Nobody
best interest
has a
of
solution.
football.
Let's be real.
There's no good solution. But it would be very weird to see 16 teams and have 6 of them at SEC just because they play each other. Listen, they play good football. So does the Big Ten at times. Objectively, the Big 12 was a really hard conference last year, and I would say probably 3, possibly even 4 teams could have, on any given Saturday, depends on when New Year's Eve is, could probably do well. And it is going to be interesting how we see that bye thing work, because didn't every single team that had a bye lose last year? Was that the 0 for 4 or something like that? So that's interesting. But I want to see good football games in December and January. And however we get that done and we get more funding into this process, which helps the schools and the players too, I'm all for it. I just don't want it to be 4-4-2-2 and 4-4-2-2 and whatever in a couple more. I think that's a little much. When your championship game only means a higher seed or a bye, I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like that.
Well, that's fair. All right. Let's go ahead. So you're in the 5+11 camp or no?
I am in. I actually don't necessarily even like that, but I'm kind of in the let's try it and see. So I'm in let's get the 32 or 64 teams camp, to be honest. But that's not happening in anything else but FCS. But they can do it. Yeah, I let's get to 16 any way possible. If it's 5+11, that's fine. I know I'm boring. No, I'm sorry.
He literally yawned.
He's tired, man. He's probably working. We're both working after this. We're gonna be tired too. Oh man. So yeah, I'm in the let's just get to 16, figure it out, and then hopefully make some changes if we need to.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and swiv it yet again. Swiv it. That was kind of creepy. And let's talk about UCF men's hoops. We haven't talked about hoops in a long time, right? So let's talk a little bit about hoops. A couple of things that we haven't talked about. We didn't get to the hiring of, and I'll say controversial hiring of Chris Wash as special assistant to the head coach. He does follow us on Twitter. So, Chris, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
There's been some noise out there. He has been brought in as the special assistant to the head coach. He's a fundraiser type guy. Rumor has it, and I'll say rumor has it with an asterisk, that he has brought in $1 million in donations to NIL already for the basketball program. He has also officially, I think, brought in the first recruit. The big question here is there was a certain DM that went out that was questionable in taste. That's kind of created some noise in Night Nation. Whether this is the right person to bring to the table for this type of role. Okay, so I'm going to say a couple of things on this before I hand the mic to you, Josh.
Okay.
Number one, he brought in $1 million in NIL donations for next year. I hate to say this way, and I don't know the rest of Chris's history other than he's got some history with player development, player evaluation, etc. in the past. Let's be real about Johnny Dawkins. Johnny Dawkins, there's a reason there hasn't been a contract extension that has been announced. And no, it's not because we like to avoid recently the Sunshine Laws, right? Freedom of Information Acts, because we're a DSO. This is a 1-year shot. Okay. This is a 1-year deal. We're bringing in 1 year's worth of contracted players. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it won't. It's fine. Well, UCF is literally taking no risk here. However, we do have $1 million additional of NIL funds that we can play with because Chris Wash is here. So I hope he does well. I know there's some frustration and some thoughts around, okay, with what was out on social media, is it okay? You know, should we be bringing someone who has this out on social media out there? And I'm not going to say specifically what it is. If you want to, go search it, whatever. I don't care. So Chris brought $1 million of NIL revenue to the funds to the table. It's going to help us get through next basketball season. As much as I love Johnny Dawkins, if you heard me say this, ad nauseum. Good dude, great dude. I think this is his last year, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Josh, what are your thoughts?
I am not going to get into rumor. I like trading in fact if I can. So,
well, I said rumor to cover our bases, but it's not unsupported rumor.
That's fair. We already had Mamadou, right? And we had that situation. All I care about is that we're trying to do things as above board as we can within reason.
It's basketball. Well, that went out the window with Adidas and Nike and whatever. There's no above board. Think about even the youth systems have been compromised for years.
Fine. Look, I can't say anything bad about National Mortgage Professional Magazine's 40 Under 40 Chris Wash. I can't. All I'll say is this: I am glad we are trying to do something to get into the NCAA tournament next year. I still would like things to be on the up and up, but I also want to be naive about what really happens behind the scenes of basketball. D Magazine's Best Mortgage Professional in 2016 and 2017 sounds like a winner to me.
All right. So yes, for one more year, I'd like to be naive, as long as it doesn't result in any consequences afterwards, right?
Don't embarrass us, please. If Chris, if you're following us, you know who Ken Caldwell is. Don't embarrass us. That's really what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. Oh no, you're so tired, you're getting sleepy. It's just I want to be naive. Just keep us out. This is the goal of most technologists. Keep us out of the newspaper, right? Let's just please do that. Do good things. Help people stay out of the newspaper.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk about UCF Hoops again. UCF Hoops added Dwayne Anderson as assistant coach. We did not talk about Dwayne Anderson. Nobra says he's had a 4-hour class today. I'm beat. Thankfully, it's not one of Josh's. So no excuse to be sleeping.
He would have been sleeping through that.
Yeah, because he did have one of Josh's classes. All right.
Yeah.
So Dwayne Anderson, he came to us after 7 seasons at Villanova. He actually played for Villanova as well. He was director of basketball operations in 2018. He's been basically in the assistant coaching ranks since then, so he's got some experience. Villanova is obviously a winning program. He is a former player, and he did coach at Penn State University before. So again, he also played in Germany, which he played in the pro leagues in Germany. I played semi-pro when I was 15. He played in the under 13 and under 18 youth program in Göttingen, Germany from 2009 to 2011. So he took a very similar path. He just kept going in the college ranks when I didn't. So, this guy, I don't want to say kid, this guy, knows what he's doing. He's played the game. Seems like a good addition and a good assistant coach to bring in for Johnny Dawkins. There's not much else to say because, again, I hesitate to go too deep into all of this stuff because I truly think this is Johnny's last year. Is there anything you want to add to that? Nope. All right.
I'm good.
So we got a head shake. We got a bobble. All right. Let's go ahead and swiv it yet again. Swiv it. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about UCF baseball. Baseball. We started talking about UCF baseball last. We talked about UCF baseball last week, and we promised Mike. I think we screwed with his timing because he wasn't here on Monday. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about baseball. So one of the first things I want to say, of all of the transfers that we've got, Mason Wilson in from Rollins is probably the biggest one that we've got. All-American, serious slugger, someone who a lot of people wanted to get transferred to, and really, really solid get. Asher Sabum, right-handed pitcher from Georgia, also a solid get. Let's be real. We're missing pitching. We're missing timely hitting, right? Those are the two big things, and consistent hitting when people were on bases. That's what we're looking to fill for this season. And realistically speaking, we've started addressing that in a really, 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 really good way. Mason Wilson, I can't say enough about. He was from Olympia High School, so a local kid as well from Orlando. He had 4 seasons at Rollins. He had, like I said, he's an All-American, and he's just a guy that hits consistently. And it's someone that he not only has consistent hitting, but he also has power hitting. So that's a really, really, really solid get. As far as 2026, one thing we haven't talked about is baseball commitments. So I want to run through a few of those. I'm going to have Ben. He's going to start back with us next year. Yeah, next week. And I'm gonna have him run through baseball with us. We'll have Coach Wally back to kind of do like a postseason type of thing. But I do want to run through some of these. Dylan Knight, outfielder, 6'2", 200 pounds, from A3 Academy. Pablo Figueroa, 6'2", 210, from Central Point Christian. So Riverview, Rio Grande, Cottage Grove, with Wisconsin, Carl Moreau. Then we have Frankie Russo from Pompano Beach, from Elite 8 Sports Institute, which tells you what? These are the best players in the state, right? 6'4", 200 pounds. Right-handed pitcher, Colton Brady from Tennessee TNXL Academy from New York. Elijah Beakley from Mooresville, North Carolina, left-handed pitcher, 5'9", 150, Villa Rica from Carrollton, Georgia. Bishop Moore, shortstop, Tyler Lomas. He's really, really, really good. Left-handed pitcher, 6'5", 215, Monsieur Farrell from Staten Island, New York. And then Javier Rosendo, shortstop, 6'2", 185, TNXL Academy, Orange City, Florida. So again, TNXL, but two completely different parts of the country. And then right-handed pitcher Brady Snow, 6'1", 185 from American Heritage on North Palm Beach. So most of these folks are from Florida. We're recruiting Florida heavily. Here's the thing, folks. Florida is one of the, if not the number one producer of baseball talent. So this is exactly what we should be looking for. But what you're seeing a lot of that we haven't seen previously in baseball is the size. 6'2", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'1", 6'5", 6'2", 6'1", right? 200 pounds, 210, 200, 208, 215. That's not what you typically see out of baseball. And that's the type of size that you're looking for on a go-forward basis. So we'll have Coach Wally come back in and give us like a postseason postmortem, and I'd like to have him have some conversations around the new class, and then we'll have him preview the baseball season like we've done every year since he's been here, because Coach Wally, great friend of the show, great person, UCF alum, great player, and someone you should know. But I wanted to run through those real quick, and we'll have Ben run through those again. So with that being said, let's go ahead and swiv it to a little bit of listener love. I want to start with Madame Boutique. So frequent commenter for us. On last week's show, she commented and said, Debo made the switch to football. He's talking to Frosty now. So that's something that we had talked about before the show that we wanted to talk about, but I don't think we actually got to it. So shout out to Madame Boutique for saying that. Our response, absolutely. He better be on the pump block and field goal block teams. Thanks for commenting, listening. Between his size, he's, I believe, 6'8", if I'm not mistaken, and he's got hops. He absolutely should be there. Also, shout out to new subscribers, David Ray, Cup of Beer. Dude, love your name. And if you put solo Cup of Beer, that would have been even better. Debbie D Edits, new followers on YouTube. Again, these are the folks that have public profiles. There's more people that followed. Unfortunately, I cannot see you. And it's Twitter, Brad D, Zanzibar, Coach Wash, John Rhodes, Lauren, Ernie UCF, John Fiore. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you and hope that you enjoy the show as much as you do. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us. Tell your friends. Again, 17,000 folks that we have that are watching our content. We appreciate everything that you're doing for us and supporting us as we're talking about this and going a little crazy. And of course, folks like UCF Mike, want to give you, or not UCF Mike, I'm sorry, Mike. I want to give you a shout out too for participating. You guys help us do this thing. So that being said, let's go ahead and swiv it yet again. We're going to add Josh back to the stage.
Swiv it. Oh, this is for the, if we had an after show. Oh, that'd be good.
Okay. Well, Josh, I will tell you, I got you off of the cam quick enough.
Yeah, I saw that. So
that your hand wasn't there.
This is all I will say about that. It has to do with Labubu's, and that is all I'm going to say. And if you know, you know. Let's
move on. Boo-boos or La Boo-boos? What's the difference? What's the difference? I guess I don't know.
It's not your thing.
Okay.
Ask the women in your life; they probably know. Yeah.
Okay, let's put it this way to all our lady listeners, because you do listen to us.
Yes.
And those gentlemen that enjoy the La Boo-boos, please let me know what that means, because I have absolutely no idea what La Boo-boos are. I was assuming it was something to do with your daughter.
Yes. No, I will tell you this: Dylan Brooks wore one in an NBA, in the NBA playoffs walk-ins with their however they dress up, and it was either Charles Barkley or Shaq said, "What is that? A bunny on his hip or something like that?" And anyone who knew what that was. Another time, let's. Oh, you're gonna pull it up? Yes. Okay.
Oh wow!
Yes.
All right. Okay, so that's what that is. Okay, got it.
It's I'll go deeper. I have my
This is when we have 0 viewers on our show, Josh, because
this
of
is
this right now. This
so
is it.
so
Add in your New York comments.
my wife has been texting me for the past 30 minutes asking about trying to help her. You want me to read what she's this is good.
Do it. Do it. It's
Okay.
gold.
Can you please help me? They're showing in stock. Hello, I can hear you yapping. I need help. Hello. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we have to wrap it up so I can try to get really not even for my wife, for my kids, some Labubus.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah.
I thought they, when you started down that path, I thought they were Labubus for you. So I'm glad that you're saying it's for your kids. So,
She loves it.
all right, let's go ahead and swib it
Whip it.
to Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. Now that we've lost all of our listeners up into this point.
Great.
All right, go ahead, Josh.
I don't have a fact. I was prepping for so many other stuff. So let's you know what? Since you know nothing about this, let me just do a question fact about Labubus real quick.
Oh my goodness.
Listen. You said everyone's already off. We'll probably get more hits on it. Like we throw out a Labubu short with this, and it relates to sports
All
somehow.
right. So no, bro. I've got an assignment for you. Make sure you include Labubu hashtag in our sports
Oh God.
show.
I was already thinking about it.
Oh God! Yeah, this is what's going to get us 1,000 new subscribers. No, okay. So I'll make it a little easy for you. Labubus have been around for a little while. They've become really popular in the last couple of months. They released a new line called Big Into Energy, which is what I'm getting texted about. They're hard to find, and the scalpers
Hold on. Are
Yeah.
you at this point getting paid by Labubus?
I
And if
I don't
so,
need
if I was
to.
your banker and I saw an item that came in that says Labubu payment, I'm not sure what I would think about that.
I don't need to. My wife was on a live stream on TikTok for this while they were trying to sell these things. That had 25,000 people streaming to buy a Big Into Energy. You don't need me.
Okay.
So anyway,
what's the question? Because I'm not going to have any idea.
Fine. No. Okay. So what popular female artist had a remix with a line that stated, "You can't even outdress my Labubu"?
I have no clue. Let's bring Nobra. He's younger than
Let's
me.
see. Let's see.
Nobra,
I don't know.
you're in your freaking 20s, bro. Come on.
This means nothing.
This is a song that Nobra. That
It's not Billie Eilish, right?
no.
Okay. Is it not? Is it a rapper?
More hip hop pop-ish.
Well, there's a few of those.
Doja Cat?
You're getting closer.
Glorilla?
You're getting even closer.
Megan Thee Stallion?
A little closer, but it's in that vein. We'll get one more. Was possibly canceled and is coming back again.
Ooh. That makes it harder.
There's not too many female artists that were kind of canceled.
Nicki Minaj?
Nah, she wasn't
canceled.
She wasn't canceled.
Um,
One last one. And Mike, if you were in the chat, I feel like you would get this and yell at us.
That was canceled, but it's coming back.
You know, if you put this out as a
Dude,
If
I
you put this
googled
out in
it,
the
and the
short-
only thing I googled it, and the only thing that came up was Hong Kong artist Kasing Lung.
no,
That's not it.
no,
Lizzo,
no.
maybe.
It's Lizzo. Yes, Lizzo.
Is it really?
Yeah, she remixed
Hold
the
on,
song.
when
It's
was Lizzo canceled? I don't remember Lizzo being canceled.
Lizzo had some lawsuits against her about people.
Abusing employees.
Yeah, we
Backup
haven't
dancers.
heard much about
Alleged.
that information, and you haven't heard much about it probably for a reason. But she got a little dragged for a bit. So Lizzo, I told my wife. So my wife has been into this stuff for about 5-6
All right,
months.
Josh, we've spent like 7 minutes.
Listen, give me 1 second. Jeez.
All right.
She's been on this for about 5-6 months, and I told her as soon as that line dropped, and Lizzo did a small video of it with literally the Labubu in like I think my daughter has one in like a Fate Prada clothing. I told her it would be hard to find all this stuff, and it's going to become more mainstream.
Okay, so Josh, within the last sentence, we've had someone jump on, listen to Labubu, and then just drop off. So let's wrap it up quickly.
That's fine. I will just tell you that I went to a kids' party and we had people asking about Labubu. It's just a really, yeah.
Okay, so we've learned that Lizzo has a rap line about it, and that your wife is into Labubus, and that at this stage you need to go help your wife with her Labubu.
Sometime soon. Yes.
All right. So that's Josh's sometime. I don't know what that is. Back to the week.
That was Josh's. Let's get us some views on YouTube. Fact of the week.
Yeah, this is Josh's. Let's be able to use the hashtag Labubu. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do a quick update on other UCF sports that Alan does not watch.
Oh, I'll make this quick now. Softball ranked number 24 in D.
You're gonna drag the Labubu thing out, but you're gonna do like the sports part. You're actually gonna slow it down. I mean, seriously?
Why not? Why not?
All right.
I think it's funny at this point. I'm still getting texted. Listen, softball is ranked number 24 in D1 softball's final top 25. And let's be fair, there's not too much to really talk about. There's only a couple things actually happening. We have the Southeast Region Rookie of the Year, Aya El Ioni. And I will say this till I'm blue in the face. UCFKnights.com. The Salvo, Skiles, anyone, put pronunciations on the players' bios of their names.
Well,
it could be
let
phonetic.
me give you a tip. They do put it on the website, so I'm just saying.
It's somewhere. Put it
way.
on the bios. Put it on the bios. When you click on a player's name, it doesn't go to the website. It goes to their bio. Put it on the bios. She earned all Big 12 freshman team honors, and as along with securing a spot on the All Big 12 second team with senior Sophia Bailey. Again, put it on the bios. She was anointed the first night in program history to tally a Big 12 Player of the Week award. We also had competing in their fourth 4x100 relay at the NCAA championships. The Knights placed 16th in the semifinals, the national semifinals, and we placed a couple of members of our team. We actually, 3 members became the 9th All-Americans in the event in the 4x100 relay in Knights history. Last but not least, the women's Big 12 basketball matrix of who we're playing is out, because I know you want to know about this. At home, we are only playing BYU, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Kansas State, and TCU. What we should do one point is to see if we can have Roger drink while I do some of this slowly and see if I can get it done before he has to put the cup down.
We still haven't talked about the official name change of the bounce house.
We'll do that in a second. Away only. We're going to be going to Arizona State for that double dip. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Houston, and Iowa State. And we will see Baylor, Cincinnati, and West Virginia at home and away. And we didn't talk about, God, I hate this. Again, this is why you put phonetic spellings and you pay enough money to put your name on a stadium, but you can't say it's Acrisure or Acrasier or acquiesce, or we're going to know it after it's said 400 times when Scott Frost scores.
It's going to be the bounce house no matter what, and it's Acrisure.
Acrisure. Couldn't they make it can we do an abbreviation like a bounce house? Can we?
It's just going to be the bounce house. So here's the nice thing about it, right? Is officially the bounce house will be in the name and on the side of the stadium, so we can change it. So
yeah, and I will say, content team, good job with the reveal. Even though it's not physically on the stadium, because I was at campus all last week, and it was certainly not Acrisure.
Yeah, I'm just going to let you keep stumbling on it. So from now on, anytime we talk about the stadium, it's going to be Josh saying Acrisure. No, it's not Acrisure. It's Acrisure. There you go. All right.
Acrisure.
All right. So on that note, you can obviously tell it's the off season.
Thank you for your money.
We did provide you with a metric ton of football content in the off season.
Acrisure it.
Wow, he's still talking about Acrisure. And we've taught you. We've talked about basketball a little bit. We've talked about Labubu's a little bit, and we've talked about Coach Wash, or I don't know what his official title is, assistant to the head coach Wash. One thing that I'll say, there's some interesting and funny Twitter videos that are out there around this. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't looked, go ahead and search for that. But at the end of the day, $1 million, money talks. And again, it's going to be one of those situations where I truly think for Johnny Dawkins, unfortunately, we are finally at the end of the road. That being said, thank you everyone for following. Thank you for subscribing. Check out the shorts. We'll keep posting those. Tell your friends, make sure, that they're helping us out by subscribing as well. We don't make any money off of this. We just want to make sure that the algorithm pushes our content out as far as possible. So if you enjoy it, help other people enjoy it. Thank you for everything that you do for us, because we do it for you. Go Knights and
charge on. La boo boo boo. La boo la boo. La boo la boo.
They've got a song.